Well, you know what? Sometimes people have controversial ideas. Today I'll be talking about my controversial statements regarding about Doll's death. I'll be first doing a short but brief overview throughout each of the episodes she was in, and then head on to my points to give you, as the viewer, a clear image and message. You guys seem to love it when I talk about murder drone characters, so feel free to check out some of my other videos considering an analysis of most characters, including N, Uzi, Doll, and Tessa. Now, let's head on to the video. Doll is the secondary antagonist of the Murder Drone series. Although sometimes little to no dialogue at all, she's one of the most beloved characters, from her mysterious personality to her straightforward motives, and the immense amount of aura points she gains for cooking up an intense battle. I think it's safe to assume that she's actually one of the good written characters. Doll was first introduced not as a secondary antagonist, but believe it or not, as a background character. It wasn't until the Murder Drone Season 1 teaser where we got to know her name, written in the concept art drawn by the very own Liam Vickers himself. The fact we got a concept art of her after the first episode gave us a small hint that she is going to be more than just a background character. Throughout the pilot episode of Murder Drones, Doll didn't serve any purpose other than laughing at Uzi or being with Lizzie at school in the worker drone's base. In the second episode of Murder Drones, Heartbeat, we get to see a lot more reoccurring scenes with Doll in them. We actually get to hear her speak for the first time, and she says how she watched her parents die. When the hologram of Lizzie tries to pull the original Lizzie to her death, we see Doll use the Absolute Solver program to stop Lizzie from opening the door. The next scene, we get to see the picture she has from V. I love how this episode really just took a moment to show us the basics about her. Throughout episode 3 of Murder Drones, The Promenading, Doll really changed her role from being a background character to side character, now officially being the secondary antagonist of the Murder Drones series. And it doesn't just stop right there. In this episode, she absolutely cooked. Like, bro was the definition of cooking. Also, in this episode, she dies, but comes back from the dead. At the end, she says to Uzi that she's willing to join forces with her if Uzi helps her find what she's looking for. And that's the patch which helps the drones to maintain their powers and on top of that not get possessed or require the constant use of oil to prevent overheating. In the fourth episode of Murder Drones, Cabin Fever, we don't get to see Doll steal the spotlight as we thought she would, just like the last episode. Despite not having any dialogue in this episode, she did secretly play a very important role, and that involved being a spy alongside Sinessa. We got to see both of them twice during this episode. The first time, we see Doll when Uzi is interacting with the Robo-Roach, and the second time, we see her eyes reflected on the TV screen. For Sinessa, we see her in these two scenes. In Murder Drones episode 5, Home, we get to see Doll at the very end. She basically teleports to Uzi's home and steals the Robo-Roach after finding out that it should be placed on a proximity reader for them to use the elevator. Throughout the end of the episode, we were left with a cliffhanger of the team all meeting up with the scene suddenly cutting off. Throughout Murder Drones episode 6, Dead End, Doll did not have a single line, just like the fourth episode. Though because of her, V quote-unquote died. Yup, I'm honestly not surprised. Classic Doll right there. She just serves no mercy. Now we're heading on to episode 7, Mass Destruction. And, well, what happens to Doll? The minute she gets screen time, she dies. Great. Now, it's not bad as people think it might be. It just needs a different perspective on how you view the situation. It's kind of the same with food, where many people may like pepperoni pizza, but there's a small amount who just don't like it. Now, that's not necessarily a wrong taste, thought or opinion. It's just the way on how you perceive the pepperoni pizza. It's not wrong, it's just different. Though just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad. Now, I'll admit, the way she was killed off, especially the fact that she had zero amount of dialogue in the last episode, was one of the biggest piss offs ever. But then I started to analyze her more little by little. She interested me on so many levels. It's not just about her death, but more about how her character was portrayed and the manner in which she died. As said, she was initially a background character, but later she evolved into a side character, and ultimately she took a major turn to become one of the main antagonists of the series. One of the things that made her so interesting is how she constantly left the viewers at the edge of their seats. To be honest, achieving that requires excellent writing. Speaking of writing, I love how she was the first character in Murder Drones to truly have a straightforward motive and offer a logical explanation for her actions, revealed by what she has done rather than by what she had said. One of the examples are her killing her classmates. The first reason onto why she did that is because she requires oil to maintain her system from overheating. The second reason is also pretty simple. She just doesn't give a crap about them anymore. She let her selfishness take over her once her parents died and was so caught up onto bringing them back, she didn't realize she was excessively causing harm to those around her, only for her to not get what she wants at the very point she's put into. Also, just so you know, Doll had 5 sets of motives. Number 1 was to turn V into prom queen by killing all her competition so she can have a chance to kill her. Number 2 is to get revenge on V for murdering her parents. Number 3 is to kill Uzi standing in her way if she doesn't follow along with the plan she's headed towards. Number 4 was to find the key and bring it back to Tessa. And number 5 was to find the crucifix patch to remove the solver from both her and Uzi. Now, when you think about Uzi's motives, it can get pretty complicated, mainly because her goal is constantly changing, which gets hard to keep up and just confuses the viewer on what the main goal of the show is. Like, Uzi seriously went from killing all humans to I don't even know what anymore. Like, even the whole theory of them going to Earth, it just kind of blew off, not gonna lie. Now, important side note, I know it seems wrong for me to call Doll selfish, especially since she was just an average high school girl trying to live her average life like any other person would want to. And all of a sudden, she just opens her eyes just to see both of her parents die right in front of her own face. And on top of all that, no one, not even her so-called best friend Lizzie, is there to truly understand what she's going through. Not even Lizzie is willing to support her, and instead just jokes about her parents who are dead. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was Lizzie, I would tell Doll the right thing to do isn't to get revenge on V or killing off the other half of your classmates. And I specifically would tell Doll that she won't be any different from the disassembly drones if she chooses to kill both V and her own kind. In general, the whole character Doll just carries with her just severely reminded me of Angstrom Levy from Invincible. And if you don't know who that is, he's basically a character from Invincible. And he basically ended up fusing together with countless alternate versions of himself, uniting all of their minds' memories into one. At the end of season 1, Angstrom attempts to kill Mark multiple times due to the harmful actions that Mark has committed in the alternate realities, not knowing that the Mark he's beating up right now had no intention of causing mass destruction and suffering. Initially, Angstrom wasn't a villain, and even tried to prevent harm. However, after an accident during the procedure to merge his mind with his variant, he became filled with rage and blamed Mark for his suffering. Angstrom wasn't even a bad person. He just let all of his pain and rage onto Mark. I love how similar both Dahl and Angstrom are to each other, and both of them even played the role of being a twist villain, and both also carried the episodes even with very little screen time given to them. Now, let's go back to Dahl. When you think about it, Dahl really didn't have many options onto carrying episode 7 like she did back at the third episode. I mean, it would be nice for her to have a conversation with Uzi, saying how she should go against Tessa because Tessa isn't actually Tessa, but it's not like Uzi would have trusted Dahl or listened to any of the orders she would give out, especially since she was the reason onto why V quote unquote died. And plus, Uzi did give Dahl the chance to switch sides with her back in episode 3, but Dahl herself did not listen. Even when episode 6 came by and the whole group just had a quick conversation, Dahl took the Roboroach to herself, not caring the fact that Uzi also needs it, and just leaves, not even staying with Tessa anymore. Objectively, Dahl was given many chances. Despite the chances, she lost the opportunity to be publicly acknowledged for her redemption and transformation into a hero. Dahl would have been another killed off victim from N, who's experiencing his emotional outburst because of V's death, or Uzi because she just ruined half of her life. However, there's one thing I would love to point out because of Dahl's death. Something I haven't seen the Murder Drones fandom bring up. The day Dahl died is the moment she finally realized the truth. What do I mean by that? Dahl was always a very stubborn character. She always stuck to her own plans, but didn't consider the greater good for others around her. When Dahl finally found out about Tessa not actually being Tessa, and the true motives she had, and on top of that, learning the horrid truth about the planet's core collapse, which she probably found out because of Nori's computer being on, and the sad truth on how the solver really destroys people's lives, she finally came to a realization that the things that she has done in the past isn't something she wants to continue now in the present moment. Alternatively, the character she portrayed herself emphasizes her role as a killer, or perhaps even the primary antagonist. But when she put the past behind her, it showed us, as the viewer, that redemption is possible for even characters like her. Dahl, in that very moment, said that she isn't going to let Sinessa use her as a puppet to do her job, which is somehow consuming the planet. When Dahl said that, it showed me that this was more than just about her being used. It was about everyone she cared for that mattered: her parents, her friends, her classmates, her people, and everyone living in Copper 9. This was how she was able to redeem herself. Not by a huge fight for her only to die off at the end, or for her to somehow just add more plot to the story, but instead for her to find her own truth. One that regards something other than the death of her parents. A reality that shows her that she's more than just a pawn in someone else's game. In conclusion, Doll is a well crafted and impactful character, even though her story ends pretty quickly. Her actions, fueled by the desire for revenge for her parents' murder by V, add depth and relatability. Doll's intelligence and strategic moves, along with her slight empathy shown towards Uzi, makes her pretty complex. Although complex, she is also very simple to understand and has shown clear motives, something that's not often shown in the Murder Drone series because the goals of the characters seem to change every episode. To fully appreciate her character, us as the viewers should pay close attention to her interactions, choices, and the way her past experiences influence her actions. Exploring these elements not only adds layers to Doll's character, but also enhances the viewer's understanding of the themes and conflicts of the Murder Drones series. If you enjoyed this video and wish to see more Murder Drones content I have planned out, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to never miss out on any of my videos. Bye, and thanks for listening.
God knows I won't.
Bro, the editing's gonna be actually, like, cursed.